This podcast is part of the Batman Universe Podcast Network, hosted by the BatmanUniverse.net. Check out everything related to Batman and the entire Bat family at the BatmanUniverse.net, including news and original content related to comics, movies, television, merchandise, video games, and more. Also, check out some of the other unique podcasts that TBU has to offer. Consider supporting this podcast by becoming a patron on Patreon. Even $1 can go a long way in supporting this content that you enjoy. Look for a link over at the BatmanUniverse.net to offer your support now. And now, on with the show.
Scarecrows frightened of the clouds, laughing boys. I am a Batman. I am a Batman. Shine and signal, come out to play. I am a Batman. I am a Batman. Bring it on, Batman. Jump out your cave, 'cause I am a Batman. I am a Batman. Shine that signal, come out and play. I am a Batman.
Hey everybody, this is at Tim G311. My name is Dane, and with me, as always, is the aforementioned at Tim G311. Tim G311, how are you doing?
That is me. Yes, I'm doing okay. And Dane, I hope I answered your very important Taco Bell Star Wars related questions yesterday.
Yeah, I couldn't really remember what set of movies those Taco Bell toys were for, because I remember eating a lot of Taco Bell, trying to get the Darth Vader helmet. I never got it. And I couldn't remember which one it was for, because I was thinking, like, okay, so was it for the re-releases? Was it for the special editions? Was it for the prequels? Because why would you have a Darth Vader helmet for the prequels? And so it made me sort of question,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, what I remember mainly from the tie-ins was for the special editions back in '97. They had that contest that was dubbed Feel the Force, where you pull off like a label off a soda cup, and then to reveal your prize, you put it to your forehead to make it like you're using the Force to reveal your prize. And most of the time it was nothing. You either lose or you get like a free nachos or one taco or anything. None of the great cash or like home theater prizes, but that was the gimmick for the special editions. And then I remember
it was like a peel off thing. You peel it off like your taco or whatever, and you put it to your head.
Yeah. I'm sure you didn't have to put it to your head to reveal the prize, but that was what they did in the commercials. And then for the prequel, especially mainly with Phantom Menace, I just remember the big thing was the cut toppers that they had for it, where they'd have a character, because it was actually split between Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, and Kentucky Fried Chicken. Like all three chains were the tie-ins for the Phantom Menace, and each had their like own exclusive cup toppers that you would put when you get like a large drink or something. I didn't get all of them, but I tried to get as much as I could for those ones. My favorite one was Watto. That was the one I thought I had that looked the best, which I got at Taco Bell. And of course, I still have to this day somewhere.
Out of all the characters, why Watto?
I just think he looked the best.
Coolest?
Yeah,
okay.
Just his design. Because you know how sometimes human characters won't really look that good when they're modeled into like a toy or some type of object. So since Watto was an alien, I thought he looked the best.
Yeah. All you have to do is look at any Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker figure.
Though I will
he just
say,
has one of those faces. He just has one of those faces that they just cannot get right.
I will say Oscar Isaac's Poe Dameron gave him a run for his money as far as action figures and toys.
Oh, really?
Quite capture the likeness, putting it nicely.
Hold on. Is it the Black Series one?
Yeah. There's a few Poe Dameron figures now, but most of them.
Wow.
Really
yeah, it doesn't look. Wow, that doesn't look like him. That's bad. Looks like he's in his mid-40s.
Yeah. See, that's why I don't really collect too many toys of just the actual human characters. I mainly go for the helmeted ones because it's hard to screw those ones up.
Although the Bad Batch ones look really good.
Yeah, those do.
It doesn't look really like how they look in the show, but they each
Like,
have their own distinctive
more
look.
realistic type versions, I
Yeah.
guess you could say, for them.
Yeah, it actually looks like a face, not like this Poe Dameron one.
Yeah.
Okay, so why did Lucasfilm decide to go with, you said Taco Bell, KFC, and
Pizza
Pizza
Hut.
Hut?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why didn't they decide to go with those three and not, McDonald's, Burger King? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, man, I'm trying to remember because I know definitely that was only for Phantom Menace. I can't remember what the tie-in was for Attack of the Clones, but I know Burger King was Revenge of the Sith. I remember got a lot of those.
Oh,
A
really?
lot of those toys out were for Burger King. And then the Clone Wars movie, when that came out in 2008, was for McDonald's. So they did kind of
Yeah.
jump around, but you would think McDonald's would be the go-to because they're like obviously the biggest fast food chain out there.
Yeah,
And
the Happy Meal. The Happy
yeah,
Meal.
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
They had some of the biggest growing up movie tie-ins. I remember Batman Returns, Jurassic Park. Those are all McDonald's, and obviously Batman Returns was kind of caused an issue for McDonald's to tie it into
Yeah.
quote unquote a dark movie like that. But I guess maybe they were thinking, Phantom Menace is going to be the biggest movie ever, the most anticipated. We can't just have one fast food chain tie-in. We have to have three of them because it's going to be even bigger. Maybe they're just trying to go big for it because it was such an unprecedented movie at the time.
Yeah, and also I was just wondering because Taco Bell isn't really known for their kids meals.
Yeah, do they even have kids meals?
I don't think they have them anymore. I think that was just a thing when the movies are coming out. I guess Phantom Menace was coming out.
Yeah,
because I don't really recall if they have kids meals.
yeah, neither do I.
Yeah.
So
Same
I
thing
don't
with
remember what you get with it.
yeah, like KFC. I don't think KFC has kids meals.
I kind of remember them advertising I don't know if they're like kids meal specific, like kids pan-sized pizza that were kind of real small and maybe like a small drink or something, like a couple of breadsticks, something like that.
Oh, I
But
see.
I'm sure they had something that was geared towards kids.
I don't
Especially
know,
when
it's
you
just
had all
so
the
weird.
Ninja Turtle promotions. I mean, obviously you're gearing towards kids with that, so you probably have to have some type of kids items on there.
It must have been a nightmare for the Taco Bell, KFC, Pizza Hut employees when they had these promotions going on with their kids meals.
Yeah, I think they had like their own. I can't remember if like they each had their own. I'm just speaking for like the cup toppers I was talking about. If they had their own exclusive one for each restaurant, or if they were kind of shared throughout all of them, and you can go to anyone and get any type. If you were a collector trying to get every single cup topper, if you could check any Pizza Hut, KFC, and Taco Bell, doesn't matter if they're exclusive or not. I don't remember because I know there was a lot of them.
It probably was, Tim. I bet you could only get the Watto. Let's say the young Anakin from Pizza Hut, but you had to get a certain kind of pizza.
Mm.
And it had to be a special thing. It wasn't just okay, so here's your pizza and here's your drink and then here's your topper.
Yeah. Well, it was good I was the perfect timing because that's when I first started working at Toys R Us, was literally
Yeah.
the month Phantom Menace came out. And in the same
So,
plaza of the Toys R Us I worked at was a Taco Bell. So I pretty much go there every day for lunch and try to get what cups I could.
did you get sick of Taco Bell?
Not really. Because back then I wasn't working full time. So I'd work maybe a few days during the week. It wasn't a full work week. So there was a Taco Bell, a Pollo Loco, and Carl's Jr. So I try to switch it up a little bit. But during the hype of Phantom Menace and those promotions, I would go to Taco Bell quite a lot.
Now, were you one of those people that asked the employees "Oh, what thing do you guys have today? Who do you have today?"
No, I didn't do that. No. I figured I don't like doing that. Like what they have is what they have, and I'll see what happens. And then at the same time too, I figured I'd be going there enough, so I'd have to. If there was a different one or new one that came in, I'd probably catch it in time.
I see. I see.
Yeah, those are fun days collecting all those stuff. I remember, like I said, the Batman Returns cup. Those are just plastic cups with artwork on there, no toppers. But I did like how they looked, and they had the toys. And then, of course, Jurassic Park the next year. I loved those cups with the artwork for the movie. I think those were probably the best ones McDonald's had. But then McDonald's went all out for Batman Forever, as you remember, with those glass cups. Those are probably the best promotional tie-in cups ever for fast food.
Yeah.
Those are really
Any
cool.
movie.
Yeah.
Any movie.
But believe it or not, we're talking about how it's kind of strange that Taco Bell was for Star Wars. The first tie-in promotion I remember was for Batman 89 and Taco Bell. I don't think they really had any specific items you can get, just like the cups and the wrappings were Batman themed. And because I had the plastic Batman cup, which I still have too. I remember like the cinnamon twist wrappers was Batman themed. So at least that was my first memory of movie fast food tie-ins was for Batman 89 and Taco Bell.
Well, what's up with Taco Bell? Like, why did they have all these promotion or these kids' toys, and then like what happened in that time?
I know,
Then
right?
and now that they just totally eliminated their kids' meals, and they don't do anything like that anymore.
Maybe they was trying to really compete with like McDonald's and Burger King back then to kind of become a really big fast food chain as top of them, and they'd maybe pay extra for the tie-ins to get more eyes on them and get people hooked on the food. And then eventually they did, and they didn't need the tie-ins anymore or kids meals. I don't know.
Maybe they realized they couldn't compete with McDonald's or Burger King, and then they were just like, okay, let's just do our own thing.
I remember the first Taco Bell, or the nearest Taco Bell I had as a kid. It wasn't even a drive-through Taco Bell. You had to order at the window and kind of eat outside. It wasn't even an inside restaurant Taco
Really?
Bell. No, I remember when
Wow.
the first drive-through one opened up. It was like, oh wow, we could finally go to Taco Bell and just order drive-through, not have to get out.
The Taco Bell nearest to me has the worst. Or you know what? The one. There are two Taco Bells with awful drive-throughs. So the one near me, the first one, the one near me, it's like, you know how you go through the drive-through, right? You sort of turn into the parking lot, order your food, and then you usually make a left, right? You make a left, and then you make another left, and then you pay for your food, get your food, whatever, and then you drive off, right? So just imagine it the other way. So you go in, you order, and then you make a right, and then you make another right, and you have to grab your food through the passenger side window.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, man. The Bizarro Taco Bell drive-through.
Yeah. It's like the opposite. I believe that Taco Bell used to be a Pizza Hut before, and now it's more a Taco Bell.
Yeah. They got to be owned by the same parent company, because remember there's some Taco Bell restaurants that has Pizza Hut items. Because the one that was by the Toys R Us I worked at, I remember like a year later they got that. I was like, ooh, good, more food options for me during the week.
And the second Taco Bell, that first Taco Bell, I think they remodeled it. I think they redid it, and it's your normal like left-hand driver's side Taco Bell. But the second one it's a smaller one. It's in a really, really small parking lot, right? So you're on the main road. It is the main road in the town, right? And so like you turn off, and then it's your typical, you go in, you turn in, and then you order your food, you make a left, and then you make another left around the building, you grab your food. But then you make a left. I mean, you order your food, you make a left, and then you make another left, right? And then you pick up your food, and then you have to make another left to make it completely around the building, because there's no direct way out of the drive-through through there. So then, if it's crowded, it's a one it's a one exit parking lot, right?
Oh,
So
man,
like if it's crowded, people going into the drive-through are blocking you. You know what I mean?
Yep. There's plenty of instances like that where for in and out where I'm at, where it's like almost impossible to get in, or it's actually lines going out into the street.
Yeah, it goes out into the street, and again, it's the main road that you're turning onto once you leave the parking lot. And of course, there's always somebody trying to make a left.
I know,
And
right?
there's a ton of traffic, and they're blocking you, and there's people behind you trying to get out of the drive-through. There's people coming in trying to get into the drive-through, and it's like, just make a right and
I know, I
circle
was gonna say,
around.
what that is says you just gotta make a right and either do a U-turn somewhere, just go around. You're holding up the line and you're gonna be there forever.
Yeah, no, it's like nobody's gonna let you through. I'm sorry, you just cannot make a left. You can't make a left through 2 lanes of heavy traffic into 2 lanes of heavy traffic. You know?
I know, you end up spending more time waiting than you would if you made a right, just kind of circle back.
Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, that's why I only go to Taco Bell because it seems like Taco Bell has like the worst drive-throughs for me anyway. So I only go through. So I only go through Taco Bell. I only go to Taco Bell through like Uber Eats.
Someone else suffer through the drive-through line. Right?
Awful drive-throughs. Yeah. Anyway, that's our fast food review.
Yeah.
Drive-through fast food.
A new topic. Yeah.
It is a very important topic, Tim. You know.
That's all we cover here, and the important topic.
But let's do our minute by minute commentary. So Tim,
I don't think Lord of the Rings had any fast food tie-ins. So I don't remember them having that.
Was it too mature for kids meal?
I wouldn't think so, but maybe some thought it would. I don't know, or maybe they thought it wasn't going to be big enough at the time. Maybe to do a tie-in. I don't know.
I don't know because you figure they announced they were doing 3 at the same time, right? So like, it's a big movie.
Maybe they thought it would have its own, specific audience it was catering towards, but maybe not have the mass audience appeal that it ended up having. I don't know. I'm just guessing because you would think a big movie like that would have a tie-in, but I don't remember any. If there was, I forgot about it.
Hobbit, no?
I don't think so. If there was, it was very low key.
Yeah, must have been like.
You know what? I just did a search, like a Google search right now. It looks like Burger King had some tie-ins.
For the Hobbit?
For Lord of the Rings.
Oh, for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it looks like they did back in 2001.
What did you get?
Like these plastic toys.
Oh.
They don't
like a Frodo or whatever.
Yeah, it's not the cheapest I've seen, but not the greatest either. Horrible. But I guess they did, man. I just don't remember.
You didn't pick them up, Tim? What's wrong with you?
I know, right?
You're not a real fan, Tim. You didn't go to Burger King back in the late 90s.
2001.
Early 2000. Early 2000s. Sorry.
Hey, man, next month's going to be the 20th anniversary of Fellowship of the Ring. God, it's hard to believe.
Yeah. Thanks for making me feel old, Tim.
Well, you and me. I stand corrected on the fast food tie-in, so I guess it did.
Yeah. Didn't Burger King also have Pokemon? Or was that McDonald's?
I want to say McDonald's, but I'm not sure.
That must have been crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're gonna do a Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, minute commentary for this episode. We're going from minute 17 to minute 18. So as always, grab your DVD, your Blu-ray, your HD DVD, your beta tape, your VHS tape, your projector, your laser disc, your Blockbuster rent.
I thought of one that I'm not sure if we used to say and we just forgot to start mentioning it, but one that just popped into my head. Do you remember the UMDs for the PlayStation Portable?
Yeah.
Those small discs.
Small disc in white.
Yeah, the white plastic that you'd keep inside.
Yeah,
that's right.
I bought one of the Silent Hill games. I had just gotten my PSP and I bought the Silent Hill game. I can't remember which one. There was a Silent Hill game for the PSP, but I bought it with my PSP and I brought it home. And I thought you were supposed to take the white plastic
Me
off,
too. Yeah.
and I
That was the first
broke
game I
it.
got, yeah.
I broke it.
I
Anyway,
had Spider-Man 2 on UMD because I think it came bundled with the PSP, so that was the only movie I had on there.
Your Spider-Man copy of UMD. Your Blockbuster rental copy, your Netflix physical subscription copy, your DVHS, and your VHS DVD converted copy. Tim, never mind the 4K transfers. I don't know why you bought that.
I know. You know what? I
Waste
should
money.
cancel my order right now before it gets here in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Because this is the way that movies are supposed to be watched. VHS to DVD converted copy. Also, wasn't there a format like UHD, right?
UHD?
Yeah.
That sounds familiar. It's supposed to be Ultra HD, maybe. But
Yeah, Ultra
I see that
HD.
listed on some streaming services, but I think it's by
Or am I confusing my generations? Is it
yeah.
a different thing?
Yeah, here, ultra high definition. I know that's like Voodoo uses that term UHD, so
Yeah.
it's probably just another term for 4K.
Also, was it ultraviolet?
Yeah, well, that doesn't exist anymore. That was just like one of the early digital code redemption services
Right.
where you could
Yeah, like you'd buy the DVD and then you could buy you buy a digital copy with your DVD
yeah.
or whatever. Yeah, so ultraviolet digital download, I guess is the new one we can add.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
So yeah, just grab any of those copies that you have, not the 4K transfer of this movie. Forget about that. You're wasting your money on that because you have all these
Premium. It's called premium formats.
The diamond package, I guess you could say also. Just grab any of those and just cue it up to the 17th minute. I'm gonna give the countdown. So Tim, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, 3, 2, 1, hit play.
So you go through Bilbo's very messy house. You have a nice hobbit hole home, and you keep it like that. I mean, come on, Bilbo.
It's weird how you just left all of this. Like he left like all of his furniture and like his paintings and stuff.
Yeah. Well, he's probably just going through everything to finish writing his book.
Yeah.
And no time for orderly cleanliness, I guess. And plus preparing for his birthday party, probably taking a lot of time.
It's like, here, Frodo, you clean this up for me.
And as you remember from reading the books, the person knocking on Bilbo's door, goes into a lot more details about the relationships between Bilbo and that part of the Baggins family.
That whole beginning is just a real estate dispute.
Yeah.
That's all it
Pretty
is.
Everyone complained about, or I think unnecessary complaints about the whole trade disputes for taxation in the Phantom Menace. It'd probably be if Peter Jackson put all that stuff in about real estate dispute. It'd probably generate the same amount of criticism back then that Phantom Menace got.
But plus, too, with the Star Wars thing, it was more like, I guess people were going into it, thinking it was more of a kids movie, and then why do you have, the stuff in a kids movie, and then, now the argument is it's not for kids, it's for adults.
Mm-hmm. It all paid off in the end for Lucas's plant story. I've said this before. Like everyone complains about the Senate scenes in Coruscant, but that's become one of my favorite moments in the entire Star Wars saga. This how Palpatine's plan was really put into motion there in that moment, and just how brilliant it ended up being.
Yeah, I like how ham-fisted he was.
Yep.
Lucas was in Revenge of the Sith. You know,
Mhm.
it's like the Emperor's. Excuse me, Chancellor Palpatine, Supreme Chancellor Palpatine, is literally destroying the Senate before
Yeah.
he actually does. You know,
Yeah.
outright.
Yeah. And as Padme says, this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause, as
Yeah.
everyone was buying into it.
But going back to Lord of the Rings, so like just jumping ahead a little bit, you know when Bilbo disappears, like he gives a speech and then he disappears, and then
Mhm.
he goes off to the elf place. What are the regular hobbits that like? What are the regular hobbits supposed to think about that? Like, Bilbo's dead.
Maybe, or that's a good
He
question.
disappeared.
They either figured out crazy Bilbo disappeared, like typical of him, or something like that, but or he's dead and then time to go after his property and all his belongings.
Yeah. Well, I guess the Sackville Baggins is eventually got what they wanted. They just had to wait a couple of years, right? Because
Yeah,
Bilbo leaves and then Frodo leaves. So I guess that leaves them to inherit the property.
I guess so. I mean, I'm sure it is detailed out by Tolkien, but I can't remember exactly
Yeah.
how that worked out. Especially when you throw in the whole scourging of the Shire at the end of the Return of the King and how that played a factor into everything once Frodo and the hobbits came back.
Hmm.
What what happened to the property after that?
Yeah. Well, I guess the Sackville Baggins win. They win Lord of the
In the
Rings. Yeah.
those are real winners of the trilogy, or the trilogy of
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They're the only ones that came out positive. In the positive. They didn't have to go fight the war or whatever. And they inherited property, lucrative real estate,
You think
and
Frodo would have amended it and left it for Sam to take over?
it's like, no, Sam, your house is okay. Your this is for, I'm just gonna leave this for the Sackville Bagginses. Um, so yeah. Anyway, that's our minute by minute commentary. Believe it or not. Now we can move on to our feature topic, which is the new Eternals movie. Tim not getting very positive reviews
No, which is very
on Rotten
surprising to me.
Tomatoes. It looks really good. Trailer wise, I guess that didn't really transfer to the movie, which is really surprising because I saw Chloe Zhao's Nomadland, and that one was really good. It's a really good movie, and it's just weird how this didn't turn out so critically acclaimed. I think isn't this the lowest rated Marvel movie on Rotten
Yeah, it
Tomatoes?
is.
Yeah,
That's the first for Marvel when it comes to, I guess, the Rotten Tomato score.
below
And
50, right?
yeah, I think even
Yeah.
the cinema score that came out just last night was, I got a B. So it's like
Uh,
unprecedented territory for Marvel at this one. But at the
but
same
but wait, sorry, Tim, I gotta say this
oh, go ahead. Yeah.
before you get into your thing. But what I am waiting for, I don't care about Rotten Tomatoes. I don't care about cinema score. The one thing I do care about is the Tim review,
End all
because
be all.
the Tim review is the final nail in. I mean, I don't know how to put it. It's my final uh, guiding source to whether I want to see a movie.
I'm so honored you feel that way. Have I ever steered you wrong, Dane?
Just trying to think. No, I don't think you have to.
That's
I,
the
I
right
don't
answer, yes.
think you have. You've never let me down, Tim.
So, you know what? I'm going to start off this review, and I'll go into some spoilers, but not all of it, because Daniel, I'm going to start this off by saying I know not every Marvel movie is your cup of tea, and I know we haven't
Yeah.
seen all of them, but you know what?
Yes.
I think you would really like this one
Really.
because it is different from any Marvel movie. It's obviously set in the same universe. They reference the events, but just its tone and the pacing of it, it is very different than I think any MCU movie thus far. And I think you might appreciate that and the story it's trying to tell.
Okay, so in the sense that it's slower, or
Yeah.
it's more not so much focused on like a huge battle.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, now I know what you mean.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, like you said, I was surprised with the mixed reaction it was getting and kind of leaning toward the more negative side, but I ended up really enjoying it. I think there are some problems with it that keeps it from reaching its potential as being a really, truly great Marvel movie. Um, I think it is a tad bit too long because by the time you get into the third act and you're kind of waiting for things to get going there, because pretty much the whole movie is really kind of let's get the band back together type of story. Them trying to meet up with the past members of their Eternals family because of the conflict that is brewing in the story. And I felt it kind of took a little too long to get all that done and settled to where they're really going to focus on the main conflict. And I think certain things could have been edited down here or there to kind of make it feel a little more concise and not have that point where you're at the third act to have that feeling of saying, okay, let's kind of get moving and get things picking up here. But overall, and there are some subplots in there that I felt could have been left out, especially one with kind of the main villains of the story, because kind of what I appreciated about it for the most part, it didn't have like your typical main antagonist that's kind of going through and that the heroes are trying to go after. There is kind of on a grander scale, but the conflict is really amongst themselves and their group and what they've been through. But yet they at the kind of near the end, they threw in this antagonist that they'd have to go up against in a physical battle that you would kind of see in your typical superhero movies, which I felt wasn't really needed. It was kind of meant to be, I think, an emotional payoff for something that happens with Angelina Jolie's character, Athena, that didn't quite work for me and just kind of something that was added that didn't need to be, and kind of where if you remove that, it would have felt like a more concise story by the time you got to the third act. So that was kind of one of my main issues with it. But
Hey, Tim, can I ask you a question real quick?
Go for it.
Is the main complaint that I don't know how to put this, where it's like it doesn't have these sort of like connections where you're planning 7 movies ahead, right? So like you see like I don't know, a carrot on the ground, and it's like that's the secret carrot for the secret boss, I mean, bad guy that is the ultimate bad guy that also ties in with X-Men, where they're also trying to fight him, but then you find out it's Jubilee's dad, and then it also ties into the Spider-Man one because Spider-Man Peter Parker is in love with Jubilee, and he has to fight her dad, that sort of thing. Is that the complaint? Where like they're like, it doesn't have the seeds of 7 movies that they're trying to do. They're trying to plan ahead for. Is that what the main complaint about it is, or is
I've heard? Well,
something
first off,
else?
that sounds like the Dane Marvel Cinematic Universe sounds crazy that I want to see it. But well, the entire universe is based off a carrot.
Yeah.
But I think, I have seen some of that. I don't know if I want to say complaints, but stuff I've seen in some reviews is saying how it does kind of feel like its own thing in the Marvel universe, where the few references they have, if they weren't there, you'd think it's its own movie. But there definitely is some setups in there, especially when you get to the end credit scene, the mid and end credit scene. They're definitely setting up future stuff with these characters, and then some potentially big ones that were introduced. That was a huge surprise to me in the mid credit scene, and it ends on a cliffhanger too. That's the thing, because I've heard people say, what, I think the producer of the movie kind of said a sequel may not necessarily or may not be necessary for this type of story we're telling, but it's like, did you see the ending of your own movie? It's like there's definitely needs to be a sequel. And how at the end of every Marvel movie you'll say, Spider-Man will return, Captain America will return. it said the Eternals will return, so we're going to see him again.
Yeah.
But I don't think not as much as you've seen in previous Marvel movies. It was trying to tell its own story that I originally thought would have a sense of finality to it if we didn't get like the last minute of the movie where things kind of end on a cliffhanger. But to your point, I would say that maybe were some expecting that it didn't get quite as much as maybe they were expecting, like your typical MCU movie.
Yeah, because like I said, I don't really care about that, because I don't understand the reference. Like that Avengers movie, it's like that mid-credit scene where you see Thanos. That's his name, right? Thanos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Dude, I don't know. Looking at the camera or whatever, it's like I have no idea who that is. Yeah, I don't really care.
Oh, that was such a great tease.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, I don't really care about that stuff, and that was my main thing going into these Marvel movies. Like, is it going to be too much? Like they're trying to set up 7 or 8 Marvel movies that'll come out, in the next 15 years that I just won't have the reference for. And are they going to spend too much time on it?
No, they definitely don't spend too much time doing that. If anything, it's just pretty much setting up like their own sequels or continuing stories with their main characters. The only one there is a character played by Kit Harington, who also Dane. I mean, you got to love this. We got a big character named Dane in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
So this is instantly my favorite Marvel movie, my favorite movie possibly ever, Tim, because I just love the Eternals.
Yeah. I don't even need to finish my review, right?
I just love the Eternals, would have been better if Dane DeHaan was in it.
Dane, played by Dane DeHaan.
Claire Danes, playing somebody, But yeah. My favorite Marvel movie before I even see it, and I just have to say.
He doesn't have a big role. He's in a lot in the beginning, but they definitely set him up where he's going to be in more movies. And they do say his name a lot too, so you at least got that.
Is he the bad guy in that?
No, he's not.
Oh, okay. So he's part of the team or whatever.
He's not part of the team. He's a character who's pretty much, like I said, he's the one that they set up to have his own movies. But a voice you hear in the end credit scene makes you believe he's going to be in that character's movie, which I don't think you'd be too upset if I spoiled this. So, but I'll throw the spoiler warning out here. So Dane Whitman, the character Kit Harington plays, his superhero name is
I thought you were talking about me. Sorry.
I thought it was going to get confusing now, right?
Yeah.
So his superhero character is named the Black Knight. And they kind of tease, he makes a tease at the end, like, I haven't told you everything about me. Then at the end credit scene, I'm not too familiar with the character. I haven't pretty much read many, if not any, of his stories in the comics. I just know of his name. And he has the sword. I believe it's called the Ebony Sword. I think that deals with killing vampires. And so I didn't realize this when I heard the voice, but he's like hesitant to pick up the sword. And as he's about to, you hear a voice says, like, "Are you sure about that, Mr. Whitman?" And I didn't recognize it right away, but it was revealed, and it was even confirmed by Chloe Zhao, the director, who said that was Marshala Ali's voice saying that, and we know he's going to be playing Blade in the MCU. So they are setting up, I think, the Black Knight character to be somehow connected with Blade in his series. So I think that's the main thing where you're talking about that, setting up something that's separate from the Eternals, but someone will still have, with his relationships, some of the characters will still play a part in that corner of the Marvel universe too, I think.
And I know something funny, Tim. So this character Dane, not me, Tim, not me.
Thank you for clarifying.
His character is known as the Black Knight. When I was going to high school, the the mascot for my high school is the Black Knight.
This is getting a little too much to be coincidences, I think.
I think I wrote the character, Tim. I think I created the character. But
you got to start getting more familiar with this character, because he might blow up to be one of the bigger MCU characters. You never know.
I know. I mean, I guess I have to do my research on the Black Knight. Because he's going to be the new Thanos, right? He's going
No,
to
'cause
he's
he's not going to be a
he's
villain.
going to
He's
be
still
the
going to be a
new
hero.
he's yeah. Okay, I'm sorry, Tim. He's going to be the new Iron Man.
There you go.
I'm sorry. Yeah, he's going to be the one that anchors all of these new Marvel movies. Dane is going to be the center point for all of this. Um, that's something I can get behind. Suddenly, I'm the biggest Marvel supporter that's ever lived. Um, but this upcoming Blade movie, are they going to make it a PG-13 movie, or are they going to make it like a straight R movie, like the Wesley Snipes ones?
I think they'll probably still try to continue the PG-13 rating. So I think you can easily do vampires movies that's PG-13.
Yeah, you figure they, especially with that last Avengers movie, they got away with a lot, like all the death and the swearing and stuff.
Was there much
So
swearing? I don't remember the swearing, but
that's the only thing I remember from that.
So,
If I
I guess
remember correctly, yeah.
Captain America did swear more than he usually does. I will say that.
Oh, you know what I sort of got halfway through. Is I almost said Scarlet Widow.
Oh, Scarlet Widow.
Black Widow.
There you
Sorry.
go. Yeah.
The Scarlett Johansson movie, which is why I said Scarlet Widow. So, got a couple questions for you in the middle of your Eternals.
Hey, what else is new, right?
Of course, I always have questions about these movies because Tim knows more about these Marvel movies than I do. So, the origin story of Black Widow in these movies is her father was a Russian spy. Their whole family was a spy family,
Mm-hmm.
sort of like the Illegals program. And he was spying on like a chemical or like a technology place, right?
Yeah,
And
like
then
experimental formulas and stuff.
okay, and so they get caught, and then they get taken to Russia, I guess.
Or no, they escape.
Yeah, they escape
They
to Cuba.
almost got caught by the U.S. government, but
Yeah, and so like, how come David Harbour has like Superman strength?
he's pretty much
Superpowers.
like the Russian version of Captain America. They tried to make their own super soldier serum. It wasn't perfected like Captain America's was, but it was enough to give
Oh,
him superhuman strength than any normal man would. And that's why he kind of always compared himself to Captain America in the movie and kind of always wanted to meet Captain America to prove he was better.
I see. And so like, so they get to Cuba, they go back to Russia, or they get to Cuba, and then there's like a separation of the family, and then
Because they're not a real family, right?
oh, they're not.
No, they're not related at all. They were just put
Oh,
together by the Russian government to kind of pose as a real family in America, but they are not. None of them are related.
oh, I see. So Scarlett Johansson knows, but then her sister, I forget her name, um, doesn't know.
Yeah, well, eventually she because he was young there, so I think she
Yeah.
definitely really bought into the real family aspect of it.
Okay, and then so they never see each other again, and then they get like their superhero training from the Russian government, and then
superhero term used loosely in that scenario.
yeah, and then like there's like a whole other movie that happened in that time period, right? Because David Harbour is in prison.
Yeah.
And then like they have to go and rescue him.
Yeah.
For what reason though? Like what was the reason they had to go? And
yeah, because I can't remember because I only saw it once, but I believe it was either to find the person who posed as their mother, or for the location of where the main head of the person in charge, like the Black Widow program, was located. I forget the exact reason, but it was all to get to that point because they find out the person who is ahead of like the Black Room or the Red Room is still alive, and they're trying to stop him because he's still has that Black Widow program going and capturing these innocent young girls and using them as his weapons for essentially as assassins, and they want to put a stop to it. But I can't remember why they needed to get to their David Harbour's character first. If it was to find their mother or fake mother, or to find a location of the main person in charge of the Black Widow program.
Okay, so the Black Widow program, right? So that's just training women to become assassins for the that one guy with the glasses.
His organization that he has,
But then there's like I don't know, some sort of like injection thing that you can take that will break you from that sort of training or whatever. Or
because they are brainwashing you through that. Like that was like the new thing he was doing, and that formula was able to get breakthrough.
So at some point, Scarlett Johansson's sister takes that injection or whatever.
Yeah, because they show in the beginning of the movie she was attempting to assassinate one of the Black Widows who was free, was going to expose that formula out, and then before Black Widow's sister Yelena killed that assassin, she got doused with that formula that cleared her mind up. So.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I wish they explained that in the movie. I don't think they really.
It's all right there.
Really?
You sure you were distracted by something else while you were watching it?
Maybe I was. Yeah, maybe I was distracted. Okay, so who is that? I guess without spoiling, who is that assassin guy person?
Taskmaster, the one with the mask, the skeleton mask?
Yeah, the one where he or she attacks Scarlett Johansson in Norway on that bridge.
So you haven't finished the movie yet, right?
No.
Yeah, so I can't say it without spoiling it.
It's the mom. It's the mom.
Okay, you'll find out.
I got it, Tim.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
I know how stories work, Tim. I know how stories work, and it'd be a great payoff in the third act if that was the mom that they were looking for.
Well, you're just gonna have to find out.
Yeah, because I don't know. I was just looking at the what is it called? The cast list, and it's either Olga Kurylenko, because I've heard her name before, or it's Rachel Weisz, the mom. So I think it's the mom, Tim. I'm sorry.
Well, again, I won't spoil it for you.
But anyway, sorry. Back to Eternals.
Yes. Which no connections to Black Widow, I will say that.
Really? They should have connected it somehow. Like I don't know. Scarlett Johansson's mom is also the person that discovers the Eternals. But then she also gave Tony Stark the idea that I don't know, that you could fly using your hand, your jet hands and your jet feet. And she also, Tim, I don't know if you know this, but she also told Thanos that you got to do something with your chin. That look doesn't really work. You gotta cover that up with like a mask.
I'm sorry, David. That's not quite as good as your carrot Marvel universe. It's gonna be hard to top that.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
But anyway, back to what actually happens in the Marvel Cinematic Universe with the girls. But what I really dug about the movie was just its core story that it had with this group of Eternals, how they were there from pretty much the beginning of history with mankind, and they were there to protect them from these creatures called the Deviants. And that's all they were there to do. They couldn't interfere with anything else. Any human conflict, they'd have to leave them to their own devices and own circumstances. But if those deviant creatures tried to attack and wipe the humans out, they were there to protect them. And so once they wiped them out, I believe it was like in early like 500 BC or not 500 BC, but a little bit like 500 AE, something like that, where they wiped them out. So they had like a good 7,000. Like they've been there 7,000 years, but they haven't got a good 5,000 or a few centuries or a few millenniums without having to deal with the deviants, where they could just live amongst mankind in secret. And they even explain why, or say why they didn't get involved in any of the conflicts we've seen in the MCU, like with Thanos. They said, like I said, they were only there to stop the deviants and couldn't interfere with any human activities. So the movie plays out in a non-linear fashion too, where you get flashbacks thrown out here and there, but from their time together and the different eras of humankind, and then it would jump back to the present day as you catch up with certain characters where they're at now, because they eventually do all separate and go on to live their certain lives. Some pair up together, like Angelina Jolie's character Thena and the character Gilgamesh. They go off on to live together because he has to protect Angelina Jolie's character, because she's having like these memory conditions where the millennia of living, like the memories are kind of becoming too much, and it causes her to go crazy at certain moments where she attacks the team. And so Gilgamesh, he's the strongest character, so he's there to kind of literally knock her out or knock some sense into her when that happens. And so they kind of become close as they go off on their own ways. Richard Madden's character, Icarus, and Cersei, they're the two main characters of the story. They're the ones that have like, there's a love interest of this that kind of is the core of the story, what happens at the end. And what I loved about it is kind of the twist that gets revealed later on as far as what their main purpose was, to be on Earth all this time and to fight the deviants. Let's just say it's a lot more complicated than that. And there's some betrayal that goes on with some of the members of the Eternals. So a lot of interesting stuff that goes down in that main core story of why they're there and their purpose in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That ties into like the greater lore. I shouldn't say tie in, but kind of expands on the greater lore of the MCU and the beings called the Celestials, which we've seen glimpses of in Guardians of the Galaxy. We've seen a Celestial in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 with Ego. So, but this movie really dives into their history and kind of how they come into being and their purpose in the universe, which I kind of really dug at how it peeled back some layers of the history of the galactic universe of the MCU, which was pretty cool. So I really liked all that stuff. And just the characters are really great too. And just how each one their personalities and kind of their view on humankind and how they viewed their purpose and what they should be doing. Two of my favorite characters actually weren't the main ones, but I thought were the most interesting. One of them was named Druig, where he's someone who can control the mind of any humans, even like a group of humans too. And he was always in conflict with himself and the other members of the Eternals, because when they'd see man kind of ruining themselves and fighting all these wars, he would say, I could easily stop this. I can control them, make them stop. And, there's none of this war, fear, greed, all the stuff would go away if I could use my powers. But the other Eternals wouldn't have it because they were instructed not to interfere with any of this human conflict. So when they go their separate ways, he doesn't do it on a global scale, but he kind of creates this own village in the Amazon where he does have these group of people with him, and from time to time he does take control of them to either protect themselves or to there's other circumstances where that was the main reason when they were attacked. He controlled this group of people and used them as kind of to protect themselves with these guns to fight off the enemies. But it just brought up an interesting conflict, I felt, between him and the rest of the Eternals, and should you use your power for that to kind of create a greater good, but at the same time you can't interfere and you're taking the free will away from these people. So that his character I really liked. And then the character Sprite, who is kind of like this teenage girl who's an Eternal and lives forever, but she's always going to be a teenage girl. She'll never grow up. And just the struggle that she has with that, seeing all the other members of the Eternals kind of be adults and stay young, and she's stuck in this age where living that long, you can understand how frustrating it would be not growing up. And she even says, she expresses that by the time you get to the end of the movie is how she wants to grow up. She wants to fall in love, start her own family, just everything that you experience in life, she can't do. And just by the time you get to the end and certain things start happening in the movie where the characters, like there becomes a real big divide between the characters, and you can kind of understand what side she chooses, even though it might not be the right one, but you kind of feel for her. So those are two of kind of the more secondary characters that I really found myself really enjoying their stories. Then you have some of the other ones who are more the comedic aspects of it, like Kumali Nanjiani, if I'm saying his name right, his character Kingo. He was more, I guess, the comedic side of things amongst the group of the Eternals, but he had some funny moments too. So yeah, I really dug its core story and the group of characters were introduced here, because I wasn't familiar with the Eternals from the comics, and I was going to let this movie be my introduction to them. And I felt it did a good job of that, of making most of the characters interesting that you could follow and get into their story. And from doing some history on or a little bit of research on the history of their comic book origins, when they were created by Jack Kirby, the movie did some different stuff with them. And I think for the most part, I like what the movie did a little better. There was one aspect that I felt they could have done without, which is in regards to kind of their creation and where they came from, because they are serving one of the Celestials, and it gets revealed how exactly they came to be. For the most part, I like their history, but there's one aspect that I wish was done they didn't have to throw in there. So I won't say what it is, because again, I think you should see this movie, Dane, not knowing all the big twists and turns that it has. But that was one aspect of like one reveal that I felt, I don't know if that was really necessary. So yeah, I overall enjoyed it. I can understand why there's some that might not like it, and how it is kind of divided amongst those who are seeing it. There are elements I thought could have made it even better if certain things were done differently, like removing a subplot here and there with the villains of the deviants and how their story kind of ultimately played out. And then the pace kind of like trimming down a little bit where it wasn't so long, especially in the third act. So, but overall, it's something I enjoyed. I'm glad this corner of the Marvel Cinematic Universe was introduced and is being explored. And I look forward to seeing where the story goes with these characters. Because like I said, the movie definitely ends on a cliffhanger where you're going to see some sequels. Or I don't know if sequels, I think there will be, but maybe just showing up in different Marvel movies here and there where the stories will connect. So, and I talked about the post-credit scene with Kit Harington's character Dane, and how he was hesitant
Not me. Sorry,
yeah, not to
not
confuse
me.
with you, Dane. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And how his character looks to kind of be connecting with Blade, but the mid-credit scene, that's really pointing towards the future of the Eternals, and they introduced a pretty big character in the Marvel comics and connection to the Marvel Cinematic Universe that should be pretty big moving down forward, or down the road in future movies. So that should be really interesting to see play out. So yeah, that was my review for Eternals. Overall, I'd probably give it a solid 3.5 out of 5. Definitely, like I said, I enjoyed it. Just it didn't quite, I think, reach its potential of greatness that I think was there if certain elements were done differently. Oh, and the last thing I'll say about it, and I think this goes for everyone in my theater too. It was great seeing Kit Harington and Richard Madden on screen together again. Jon Snow and Robb Stark sharing the screen together once again. It didn't get like a full blown clap and cheer in my theater, but you could definitely hear some like claps and like sense the joy people were seeing when that moment came on screen where they were in a scene together. So that was a lot of fun.
If I'm remembering correctly, if I'm remembering Game of Thrones correctly, don't they only show like a couple of scenes in that entire show?
Yeah, just the first 2 episodes, and that's it.
Yeah, right. You would think brothers would have a little more scenes together, but I mean, sorry, not brothers, Tim.
Half brothers.
Cousins. Cousins.
Oh, I was gonna say, keeping in without what would reveal later on in those first 2 episodes, half brothers. But you're right, yeah. Cousins.
Sorry.
Spoiler alert. Yes.
Yeah, so I guess I'll watch it then. I don't
Yeah.
know.
So,
I was a little on the fence, because all these negative reviews came out,
mm,
and I wasn't sure what it was that made it have so many bad reviews. You know, I,
mhm.
I thought maybe because people were complaining that it didn't have these connections, like I was saying, or was it more like a pacing thing where it's like it moves slower, which puts it in conflict with everything we've seen from the Marvel universe so far, where everything is just boom, 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 boom. And we're on to the next story, and then the next story, which was planned in the first story, which was planned in the fifth story, and the seventh story. And, I just thought oh, maybe it was a thing where it was like, uh, the pacing or the Easter eggs or something. But I guess just judging from your review, it's mostly in the final act that it sort of gets long in the teeth, I guess you could say.
Yeah. At least for me, it did. Yeah. It
Hmm.
just all didn't come together as neatly as I think it could have been.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know if you remember this, Tim, but I think this is the Marvel Universe's The Last Jedi.
You know what? It kind of is. I've
Yeah,
already seen some extreme reactions to it. The people absolutely hate it. The people absolutely love it.
yeah. Anyway, uh, I guess we can move on to our news. I mean, we just have two things that we didn't mention in the last show that we
We
should
somehow
mention this
forgot about.
show.
Yeah.
With all the trailers and everything, Tim, how dare us, right?
I know. That's the
Um,
problem. You get so many great stuff and you don't write show notes for it like I used to. You forget about certain things.
I don't know, what do you want to start with, Tim?
Well, so yeah, let's start with because what we forgot to talk about on our last episode regarding DC fandom was the two video game trailers they showed for uh, the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League by Rocksteady and Gotham Knights by Warner Brothers Montreal, I believe, is it? So let's start with the Suicide Squad one because um, this one is so far I'm a little frustrated with it because I said when it was first revealed, the Suicide Squad game is not on the top of my list for what Rocksteady's, knowing what great developers they are, to tackle in the DC universe. And we still haven't really seen much of the gameplay aspect of it. It was pretty much just another cinematic story trailer. And what makes me frustrated about it is obviously it's called Kill the Justice League. You know they're going to go up against the Justice League, and just how we saw Superman in the first trailer being mind controlled, it looked like by Brainiac. But in this one, they really went full blown and showing the Justice League members you're going to go up against. We get to see Wonder Woman, we get to see Flash, we get to see Green Lantern, John Stewart, and all that stuff looked awesome. And then seeing all that, it made me think, man, I wish we were Rocksteady was just doing a Justice League game because I know they'd kill it. And that's what I'm just not sold on the story because we've gotten a lot lately of what if Superman was evil? What if the Justice League turned bad and all that stuff? We've seen that before. And I know it's going to be different to as play as a Suicide Squad fighting the Justice League in a video game, which has never been done. But to me, I'd be more excited if you were actually playing the Justice League and Rocksteady was doing just a full-blown Justice League type story set in the Arkham universe. I mean, maybe that was co-op like the Suicide Squad's going to be. I mean, how awesome would that be? So it's just kind of my thing of not being super excited about the concept of playing the Suicide Squad going up against the Justice League. But I mean, visually, the trailer looks great. Seeing the Justice League in the Arkham universe looked awesome. There were some funny moments with the squad. I'm not going to deny that. That moment where they're all pretending that Penguin's running away, but he's really incapacitated because they just want to see him get shocked more. That was funny. So Rocksteady is capturing that Suicide Squad humor, and I'm sure it's going to be fun to play. I mean, I have no doubt about that. I mean, it's Rocksteady. So it's just the overall concept of the game that just doesn't have me super excited. And just seeing this trailer made me wish they were doing a Justice League because that would be amazing.
Yeah, I'm good on that. Um, I'm, yeah, I think I'm good on the both games. This Suicide Squad one and this Gotham Knights one because I don't know they just seem so close to the Arkham games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but isn't that kind of like a good thing about it too? Because obviously it's set in the Suicide Squad one set in the same universe, but the Gotham Knights one, that was more a story trailer too. But I just really like how they're capturing the feel of the Court of Owls from the classic Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo comics. I just think they're really doing a great job of just capturing the atmosphere and the creepy mood of it, of the Court of Owls and what they represent. So I'm really excited about that one from both the story aspect and the gameplay aspect as well, because I definitely would rather play as the Bat family members over the Suicide Squad members. So I'm definitely more excited for Gotham Knights. I think that one's looking really good.
What if you could only play as Ace? You know, you couldn't play as Nightwing. You couldn't play as Batgirl. You can only play as Ace.
I wouldn't mind. Have you ever played that Capcom game, Okami?
No, I haven't.
It's the one where you play as like that white wolf. It's like really explores in like Japanese fantasy stories and lore. It was really good. The art style on it was great. It came out in 2006, so it's kind of old. But that you're just playing as a wolf in that one. So, and that game was fun. If it's the right developer, even if you're just playing as a dog, I think it could be really fun. So,
is that PS5 cat game coming out? So
that's right. Oh, I can't wait for that one. That's gonna be.
What is that called? What is that?
What is it called?
Is it the name of a cat?
I know it's not called Cat Game. I know that. Let me look it up real quick. It is Stray. That's what it's called.
Stray.
Yeah. The only thing I wish about that game, I wish it was you get to customize your own cat, so it can make it like your personal cat that you have. That would make it more.
Make like an orange tabby or a gray tabby.
Yeah, or a tuxedo cat, something like that.
Yeah. It's a third-person adventure game in an open world with a focus on atmosphere, exploration, and art. The player controls a stray cat who falls into a world populated by robots and ventures to return to his family. They must solve puzzles to progress the narrative, including moving obstacles and traversing platforms. The player is accompanied by a drone companion named B12, who can assist by translating the language of the robots and storing items found throughout the world. One of the game's enemies are Zergs, who will attack the player in vicious swarms. I hope the cat doesn't die.
Oh, that'd be the biggest bummer.
It
can't. No.
They
know that it's upset so many, or I should say so many. It would upset every gamer who plays the game.
Yeah. Definitely my forget about Call of Duty, forget about Battlefield, forget about Gotham Knights or whatever Bethesda is doing. This game is the one to buy a PS5 for.
You say that as a joke, but I don't know. It looks like a really great, unique gaming experience. And I'll say it, this might sound blasphemous, but I'm more excited about that one than the Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. There, I said it.
What is this Ghostwire Tokyo?
I'm not too familiar with that studio.
Ghostwire Tokyo. Oh, it's about ghosts.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the studio.
Oh no, it's
okay.
This game called Ghostwire.
Oh.
Tokyo. Anyway, yeah. So I guess that's it for our news, Tim.
A couple of things I'm actually just remembering. It was announced that like Brendan Fraser is going to be playing the main villain in the Batgirl movie, which looks to be Firefly, which I think is some pretty cool casting. Cool that we're going to hopefully get Firefly in his full-blown armored costume from the comics, because I do like that design. And then Brendan Fraser, I think will be great in the role. He's awesome as Robot Man in Doom Patrol, which I haven't started season 3. I need to get started on that, but I think he should be good in that. So more news coming out of the Batgirl movie. And then an official synopsis came out for the Batman a couple of days ago, or it's being described as The Batman is an edgy, action-packed thriller that depicts Batman in his early years struggling to balance rage with righteousness as he investigates a disturbing mystery that has terrorized Gotham. Robert Pattinson delivers a raw, intense portrayal of Batman as a delusioned, desperate vigilante awakened by the realization that the anger consuming him makes him no better than the ruthless serial killer he's hunting. So yeah, I think that aptly describes what we've seen in the trailer so far and the kind of Batman we're going to see from Robert Pattinson, which yeah, it just has me excited to see this performance because obviously we talked about this when we did our trailer review that he's a Batman that's out of control, but in this moment, I think we're just going to see some major growth with the character by the time we start this movie and by the time we finish it. As the Steven says, he comes to the realization that this anger he has is making him just as ruthless as the villains he's going to be facing in the movie. So I say a pretty apt synopsis for what we've seen so far from the Batman, but still kind of cool to get. And this one of those little things that makes you realize we're inching our way closer to the release of the actual movie. So this was nice to get earlier in the week.
Again, what about Paul Dano?
I think you can assume that he is the ruthless serial killer that is mentioned in the synopsis here. I don't think that's too far of a stretch to assume that. It's pretty much a given.
I mean, yeah, like they have the Riddler, and then that sort of news clip that they have in the second trailer where it's like, you know, serial killer live streams or something.
Mm.
So, yeah. I just wonder why we don't see his face. Again, Tim, why don't we see his face?
We'll see if they keep it up in the marketing for the movie, like if they release any TV spots, clips, if none of those have any hints at Paul Dano's face as the Riddler. Which I will say, I was a little disappointed seeing Eternals last night that I didn't get the Batman trailer. I was hoping I'd get it, but to no avail. I did see the two posters though, hanging side by side. The red ones with Batman and the Riddler on the other side of it. So that was cool to see.
I wonder if they would cross promote like that. You know, have a Marvel movie with a Batman trailer in it.
Well, I've seen some people who saw Eternal saying they got the Batman trailer with it, which got me hopeful that I would see it too,
right.
But unfortunately not.
Did you have to wear a mask when
you don't have to? You don't have to,
Oh.
But I did anyway.
Yeah, I see. Still a mask mandate here.
Oh yeah, I think that's for the best. I kind of wish we still had one, but I'm going to be wearing my mask for the foreseeable future, even when things like really start getting better and it's gone. It's kind of become a socially acceptable look now, where me kind of being a germaphobe anyway, I prefer to wear it going out to public spaces. So even though I'm fully vaccinated, places don't mandate it. I still wear it everywhere I go.
Still do it.
Yeah.
All right, Tim. I guess that's our news section. Now we can get into our review section.
Yeah, we actually have one to review this time.
So, like we say at the end of, like we say before every review section, there's going to be a lot of spoilers. So, if you haven't read this book, you might want to come back to this part of the podcast. So, our rating scale for this episode is going to be times that Tim has confused Dane with Dane.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, finally read a comic, a new DC comic lately. Because I will say right off the bat, I am behind. I need to catch up on Batman 89. I think I'm just one issue behind on that. I fell behind on Batman The Avengers Continue, and I haven't really been up to date with the main DC line of books. If anything that captures my interest, I'm kind of waiting for it to hit DC Infinite now, like with the main Nightwing title by Tom Taylor, who wrote the book I will be reviewing on today's episode. But I'm just at this point now where I'm just waiting for stuff to go on the subscription-based digital services. So, but there are books here and there that I really want to get right away. And this new one by Tom Taylor called Dark Knights of Steel is one that really caught my interest when it was first announced and wanted to get when it was released. And it's pretty much the DC universe in medieval fantasy setting. And right off the bat, seeing the synopsis of it, seeing the artwork when it was first revealed, I was like, I'm all in. This sounds really cool. It looks really cool. I'm going to get it when it first comes out. And so I did, and I really enjoyed it. I think this is off to a really great start with how Tom Taylor is incorporating familiar DC characters, but yet putting them in a medieval setting. And it's not like it's the main characters got transported into a medieval time period or a fantasy setting. It's a brand new universe being created. Like, this is the DC universe of this world. So I really like that it's going that way. It's just, this is all these characters know. This is their time period. This is their universe. So I did like that. So it starts off on a very familiar event, the destruction of Krypton. We see Jor-El and Laura realizing the planet's going to be destroyed, and they got to send baby Kal-El away to Earth. But the twist on this one, as we see the rocket go by, you're thinking you're seeing the familiar origin story of Superman. But when the rocket crash lands on Earth, the ship opens, and you don't only see Kal-El, you see Jor-El and Laura there. So Superman and his parents both survived the destruction of Krypton, and they are on this Earth set in the Middle Ages in a world of fantasy. And you see right off the gate that these soldiers come riding on horses, discovering the ship, and they're about to shoot them just without any questions. And then Jor-El's pleading, like, no, my wife's in labor. Like, don't shoot. He starts to get a little angry and nervous there, and immediately the powers of the yellow sun kick in, and he just shoots all those enemies, those soldiers, with his laser beams. And as Laura gives birth to Kal, he just tells her, I think everything's going to be okay. We're going to be just fine here. And then, of course, the time moves past to when they're adults, and with their powers set in this medieval setting, they're ruling as king and queen. They're the high family in this DC universe. But yet, it did establish that Black Lightning was a king in this universe too, because it begins with this moment where you see John Constantine, looks like he's just a stable boy, kind of having these visions and this prophecy about the events that looks like are going to transpire throughout this story. So it takes place, or the story moves forward to where Superman's an adult, but his parents are still alive. It's called Dark Knights of Steel, and you see the cover, so Batman's obviously going to be the main character of this. So we see him right away. I just love his knight armor. It's a really cool looking knight costume, but yet his helmet is in the shape of a bat. I mean, it's not the most original, because we have seen some Batman artwork and designs where he's dressed like a knight, and so it's not fully original, but I think this one, it looks cool nonetheless. I really like how his suit looks, and he's pretty much on a crusade. He serves obviously Jor-El and Laura as there is king and queen, and he's pretty much on a crusade to rid magic in the kingdom, because we find out later that they don't say what exactly happened, but I think someone with magical abilities was responsible for his parents' death. So he seeks out anyone who may have any type of powers to bring him. And he doesn't. They don't reveal he didn't kill anyone in this issue, but they made a point to seem like that anyone he takes in, he just brings them to be put in prison. So, but Tom Taylor kind of teased, like in the next issue, they'll delve into whether this Batman kills or not, because if you're a knight protecting your kingdom, you might have to get your blade a little bloody in certain instances if there's any battles. So we'll see if this Batman does that. But I did like how that's kind of his crusade, and he does have his allies, the Robins, that they didn't make clear too. If I don't think they're necessarily part of the kingdom where they're knights like Batman, but they're kind of just his help amongst the towns where they give him information and they operate there just under Batman. That's the impression I got. You did see Dick Grayson, you saw Duke Thomas, you saw Stephanie Brown, Jason Todd, and just kind of still having the familiar personalities we've seen from these different Bat family members. And they're trying to locate this Banshee, who Batman got word is in this town. And when he confronts the Banshee, it's revealed that it's Black Canary. It makes perfect sense. So Batman goes to confront her, and she lets out her classic canary cry and pretty much destroys the inn that she was staying in. But Batman somehow survives, and he's kind of questioning like how is he still alive and survived this, but then Superman eventually comes in to help, and they establish that him and Superman kind of have a friendly relationship. Obviously, Superman is the prince of this kingdom, but still that friendly relationship, but yet that kind of rivalry both of them have at the same time, which I felt Tom Taylor captured even in this different era with these two characters here set in this medieval fantasy setting. So that's classic Batman Superman dynamic was on full display here. So they end up capturing Black Canary, and they take her in to be put in prison. And Batman goes on and Superman gets in trouble by Jor-El by going out. He wasn't supposed to go out, and he's making his plea that he was needed there to help stop Black Canary, and Batman's trying to take full responsibility. But then Jor-El says something interesting to Batman, where he goes, "I would rather it would you be up here ruling than me," and that kind of took me by surprise. Like, I wonder why he would say that. And then he tells Bruce, let's go for a walk and have a talk. And there's been mentioning of someone called the Green Man, who supposedly has these magical abilities. And as we see Jor-El and Bruce go on this walk, we go to another sequence with Green Arrow sitting on a treetop, talking to someone called the Green Man, and you see a construct form of an arrow. So obviously this Green Man is a Green Lantern. We just don't know which Green Lantern yet. And it's kind of saying, I'll provide you at the end. Like, are you sure you can be able to hit your target? And Green Arrow is all like, obviously, like, you don't have to worry about that. So we see Bruce talking to Jor-El, and this is where the biggest bomb drop of the story happens. And it's a different type. They're definitely going in a different way with these characters, which makes it exciting and interesting, especially set in this new setting. So Jor-El kind of talks about how Thomas and Martha Wayne, and Bruce is actually a bastard child. They revealed that. He has a Jon Snow thing going in this one. There's definitely a Game of Thrones vibe with that aspect. And then it gets revealed that why Bruce confesses to Jor-El that, he's gone up against Black Canary. He should have been killed by a cry, but this wasn't the first time he was been hurt by like extreme circumstances, but yet it came out fine. And this is where Jor-El tells him that, yes, he is a bastard son, but he is Jor-El's son. And as he said that, he gets that Green Lantern construct arrow shot right in his eye. And you're assumed to believe that he's dead. But again, he's Kryptonian, so we'll see if it's like Green Lantern created like a special kryptonite construct arrow or what. We'll see. But as he says that, you see Bruce just let out his anger, and you see the same type of heat vision come out of his eyes as you would see Superman. So yes, in this story, Bruce looks to be half Kryptonian, and he's going to be the half brother of Kal-El, Superman, and that's where the issue ends. So this again, that's why I love the story so much. A different, unique setting, which on its own is interesting, but then Tom Taylor is doing something different with these characters that I think you can only do in a story like this, where it's totally separate from the familiar stuff we're used to in the DC universe with Batman and Superman. And it's throwing all that stuff on its head, and I think it works in this type of story. Because again, like I said, that type of stuff it's very Game of Thrones in that fantasy setting where that worked with these like family situations and reveals that happen in the story here, like we're getting here with Bruce being revealed to be the son of Jor-El. So I can't wait to see what happens next. It's a 12-issue series, so hopefully it stays on track where it comes out every month, because hopefully it's not another doomsday clock situation. While I love that story to death, waiting for it was such a pain. So hopefully this one won't be the case. The story was great. The artwork by Yasmin Putri, hopefully I'm saying her last name right, was fantastic. I love the art style. It really captured that fantasy look really, really well. So overall, I say the DC universe set in the medieval fantasy setting is a match made in heaven. I loved it. So I'm going to go ahead and give this one a 4.5 out of 5 Danes, or 4.5 out of 5 times Tim gets confused by Danes in the MCU, which I think that's what we settled on, right? I couldn't remember. Too many Danes to keep track of.
So. No, so 4.5 out of 5 Danes that Dane. I don't know.
There's too many Danes. We're getting confused here.
Yeah. This is the real multiverse.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's it, right, Tim?
Yeah, that's it for this one.
All right, so just go over to BatmanUniverse.net, Facebook.com/BatmanUniverse. The Twitter handle is at BatmanUniverse. The show's Twitter handle is at Bat-Fans Podcast. Tim's Twitter handle is at TimG311. My Twitter handle is at Dane Says Banana. Rate reviews on iTunes. And email the show at batfanswithoutpants@gmail.com. Like we say at the end of every single episode, Tim.
We love each and every one of you with all of our Dane and Dane in the MCU hearts.
That's a good one. That's a good one, Tim. We'll see you guys next time.
See you next time, everybody.
Sundies under Gotham. Crime alley is a rich boy's tomb. There's a stealing cat, two faces of a coin. Scarecrows frightened of a clown that's laughing.